Hey, what's up, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be giving you 13 years of fitness knowledge and however long it takes me to do this shit. I'm 27 years old now. I started lifting when I was 14. I made a ton of mistakes along the way. I'm going to timestamp this way you could skip through and pick like whichever information you want to learn. I'm going to be talking about lifting. I'm going to be talking about supplements. I'm going to be talking about different types of training, your mindset when you're training, uh, different types of training depending on what your goals are, etc. Things to avoid, how to know if a trainer is legit, if you're looking for one, or if they're full of shit. Let me just preface this by saying that I still don't know everything. Some you might not agree with everything I'm saying in this video, and I'm just speaking based off my own personal experience, and you could do with this information what you will. However, I'm as transparent as possible, and I'm not gonna bullshit you here. I don't like sugarcoating stuff. I'm pretty much just a straightforward kind of person. So now let's get into it. So when it comes to lifting, especially if you're a beginner, I feel like your main goal obviously is to get jacked or in shape and to be strong. So when I first started lifting, something that worked really good for me is what's called pyramid style training. I remember I started lifting, like I said, when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school. I saw one of the seniors there, incline dumbbell pressing like the 75-pound dumbbells. And I was like, holy shit, that guy's strong as fuck. I'm trying to be able to do that one day. So initially my schemes were for my lifts, and I didn't just do this for dumbbell press. I did this for every single lift I was trying to get stronger at. So like squat, deadlift as well. I would always do 8 reps for the initial set. Obviously after warming up, I'll get into warming up later, but I'll do 8 reps with the initial set. And that 8 should not be an easy 8. At the 8th rep, you should be somewhat near failure or only have like 2 left in the tank. You should be struggling a bit when you get to the 8th rep. If the 8th rep is easy, the weight is too light. So increase the weight and go for 8 again. Don't cheat yourself. Then the next set, I'm doing 6 reps, same intensity, and then 4 reps, straight intensity. I felt like half the battle was just getting the weight in my hands. And so that's what I did. And I was able to hit the 75s in about 8 months, I'd say. I mean, I was 14. I was just hitting puberty. If you're a young kid watching this, when you're like in that stage where you're hitting puberty and you're from like fucking, some kids hit it at like 12. Like some kids had like full beards when I was in the 7th grade, which was fucking wild to me. I was a late bloomer. I had to sit around and be fat for a while before I hit puberty in like late 8th grade. But if you're in that stage from like just hitting puberty to like, I'd say even like 24 years old, bro, like I would not be fucking around with any SARMs or steroids or anything like that. But I'm going to keep it to lifting for now. You're going to make a lot of gains when you first start lifting within like the first year. You know, obviously you're going to make the gains. You're going to start seeing gains usually after like the first 30 days. You are going to see a little something. Typically, if you're consistent with it, 8 weeks, other people will start seeing some. 12 weeks, you can make like a pretty solid fucking transformation if you're doing the right thing, programming correctly, eating correctly, all that. So if strength training is your goal, the pyramid training is a good option. But also with the pyramid training, you could also be working in drop sets as well. So if you don't know what a drop set is, essentially you'll start at like, I would start at like 20% less of like the heaviest weight I was doing. And then you would start with X amount of reps with that weight. And usually you would decrease the weight again by like 5 to 10 pounds is what I do personally. Other people, I feel like if you look at like the scientific shit, they'll tell you to drop like 20% each one. Fuck that. For me, I drop like 5-10 pounds, not really that much, and I'm going to increase my reps. But also, if you're new to the gym, don't start out too crazy. You need to build up your training volume. If you go in too hard too fast, you are going to increase your risk of injury, and you might burn yourself out too. Because when you're first starting in the gym, your first goal, especially if you had to like force yourself to go there, and it's a new thing for you and you feel kind of uncomfortable, the first step is just getting comfortable in the environment and also making it a part of your routine. So if you're just starting out in the gym, honestly, I would try to do a full body workout 3 days a week. This way it's not that much of a commitment. You're in there for like 30 minutes doing this workout, I'd recommend, and you're just getting used to being in there, being in the environment, lifting and working it into your lifestyle. That is your first goal if you are a beginner, is creating the habit of going to the gym. Not getting jacked right away, not losing a ton of weight right away or anything like that. Your first goal is to get some consistency. When it comes to the gym, your two most important things are going to be consistency and patience. You can't expect to go in the gym for 1 month and then turn into a Greek god. Like, I've been doing this for 13 years, and depending on me being on my shit and off my shit, I've been shredded to the gills and jacked. I've gotten like slightly chubby in the past. I've been swole. I really haven't been skinny ever, to be honest with you. I don't have that personal experience. I'm more of a stockier guy naturally. But your first goal is to make a routine for yourself. After that, once you've gotten comfortable in the routine of lifting, your next goal is to start working on some progress towards your goals, whether that's weight loss, whether that's getting an aesthetic physique, whether that's just getting strong as fuck. Whatever your goal is, then that's when you start to try to pursue that goal. If your goal is to lose weight and to get shredded and to just have an aesthetic physique, my recommendation from my personal experience is to go with lighter weights and more volume and focusing on time under tension, full range of motion, working in partials, and a solid training intensity with like a little less rest time, like a minute in between sets, maybe a minute and a half, and get right back into it. Also, if you're trying to lose fat, I recommend you do circuit training and obviously some sort of cardio. Now, when it comes to cardio, my opinion, the trick is finding a cardio that you genuinely enjoy. There's a lot of options out there for you. There's running, incline walking, walking outside, hiking, rowing, picking up some sort of sport. There's a lot of options. So I would, playing basketball, I'm 5'7", so obviously I don't play basketball. I'm just gonna get fucking dunked on out there. It's not the sport for me personally. But if you are 5'7", you like basketball and you're good at it, fuck it. I'm just fucking around here. So the trick is with cardio to find something that it doesn't really feel like you're doing cardio. Because like when you go on the treadmill, I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. It's just like, holy fuck, like 3 minutes feels like 30 minutes on that fucking treadmill. Like for me, if I run, I'm gonna run outside because I can at least, I might see some birds flying around, might see like a nice car, possibly a hot girl walking her dog, who knows? But I'm more visually stimulated when I am running outside. So that's my tip to you with cardio, especially if you fucking hate cardio, but it is necessary if you are looking to lose weight. Now, if your goal is to gain strength and to gain muscle, you're going to have to be okay with gaining a little bit of weight, and it's pretty much impossible to gain straight muscle and no fat. However, you can minimize it. So you would have to find out what your calorie range is of where like is maintenance level for you. A good way to do that is to track like all the foods you've been eating for like 2 weeks while also tracking your weight, and weigh yourself around 3 times a week and kind of see like where you're stabilizing at. And like tracking calories is a bitch, it's tedious, but to do this like the right way and to be the most certain about it, I would recommend you do it for at least 2 weeks. And then once you find out your maintenance calories, I would increase those calories by 300 to 500. This way you are gaining weight at a slower rate, and you are not going to be putting on as much fat. Obviously, the cleaner you eat too, the less fat you'll be putting on. I've made the mistake in the past of when I am bulking, or calling it a bulk, because I should never be bulking because I am naturally stocky. I don't really need to bulk. But I was just doing it as a justification to eat my body weight in crumble cookies and to call it a fucking bulk. It's not a bulk, it's just me getting fat. And that's exactly what will happen to you if you have that mindset. If you're looking to bulk, you should be trying to get in like quality calories. You get a little bit into nutrition now, obviously, like meats, steak, lean steaks, like sirloin, strip steak, stuff like that. Pork tenderloin's really good. Obviously, grilled chicken is a staple. Fish, shellfish, carbohydrates wise, like fruits, sweet potatoes are two of my favorites that I like to eat for a good source of carbs, fats. You know, you have the fat that's going to be on a steak, but obviously like nuts. I feel like nuts are a really good source of fat. I'm not a fucking nutritionist here, so I'm not going to give full-on nutrition like advice and act like I fucking know everything about nutrition, because I don't. The nuts work for me. So when it comes to like quality fats, like avocados and nuts is what I do, and eggs. Those are the three that I do from my own personal experience. I'm not a fucking nutritionist. I'm just a dude that likes to work out. And I'm just giving you, like I said, from my own anecdotal experience, my advice. So those would be like your two paths, and that's a general way to get to those things. If you want me to make a more specific video on gaining muscle and strength or straight fat loss video, just drop it in the comments below and let me know, and I'll do it for you. Another common mistake in the gym is trying to go too heavy too fast and like trying to PR every other week. If you do that, you are setting yourself up to get injured. My personal recommendation is to try and PR. For those that don't know what a PR means, it's a personal record. It's a 1 rep max. It's trying to see like the most amount of weight that you could do for that exercise. Like if you're benching, it's seeing how much you could bench in a single rep. That's what it is. I would not recommend doing that more than once a month, you know, at the least. Because when I first started lifting, I was trying to PR like every other week. And my big thing was the bench press. Like I'd see dudes benching 3 plates. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to bench 3 motherfucking plates as soon as possible, and I'm gonna do it. Eventually I was able to do it, but in the process, I strained my pec a whole bunch of times. And now I really can't barbell bench press heavy at all. I don't throw more than 135 on there, and I just go for volume nowadays. And that's what I'm stuck with. If I'm gonna go heavy, I go heavy on the dumbbells. That's another thing, is that I personally feel like the dumbbells are safer than the barbell because you have equal amount of weight in each hand, and it's more mobile. It's not like a fixed, like in the bar, you're fixed in one position. With the dumbbells, you can move them until like you feel comfortable. So that's one thing that makes the dumbbells safer to me. And the other thing that makes them safer is that you don't have as much of a chance to develop muscle imbalances because you have an equal amount of weight in each hand. Now, when you're benching with the barbell, whether you're conscious of it or not, you may be pushing up harder with one side than the other and making one side therefore stronger than the other. So I would always work in your workouts some sort of dumbbell or unilateral work. By unilateral, I mean putting the same amount of weight on each leg. So if you're doing like a leg extension machine, you would do single leg extensions. You put the same weight on the machine, let's say you do 20 reps with the right leg, and then you also do 20 reps with the left leg. I would recommend you work in some unilateral work for every muscle group that you are training. In addition, if you want to grow muscle, I would also like grow muscle optimally. In my opinion, you should always be working in some sort of eccentric reps into your workout. And by eccentric reps, I mean coming down slow when the muscle is lengthening, so that when your muscle is stretching. So if you are benching, the eccentric phase is when you are coming down on that bench and the muscle is lengthening, not when it is contracting to push upwards. I would always work some sort of eccentric in, because that is going to increase the time under tension of the muscle. And time under tension means like when you are fighting the gravity of the weights and there is tension on the muscle. The longer time under tension of the muscle is relative to how much muscle you are going to grow optimally. Obviously, if you're new, like, you're gonna make gains no matter what. But doing eccentric reps and maximizing time under tension and getting full range of motion is going to speed up your progress, in my opinion. Also, if your goal is just like muscular hypertrophy or growing muscle, getting jacked is like your goal. You don't need to go heavy at all. You could get jacked as fuck with light weights and high volume. By high volume, I mean a lot of reps. That will get you just as jacked, or in my opinion, more jacked than just lifting heavy. You can do this by doing, like I said before, drop sets, and also I also do ascending sets, which is just the opposite of a drop set. So if I'm doing dumbbells, I'll start with 40-pound dumbbells. I'll do 20 reps. I go straight into it, no rest, into 45-pound dumbbells and do 20 more reps. And then I go into 50-pound dumbbells and I do 20 more reps, all straight. 60 reps in a set with light weights. And I am just pumping it out. Getting a crazy pump, getting the blood to that muscle, tearing the muscle, micro tearing the muscle, not to the point that I'm injured, and stimulating growth. Also, if you want to make gains, you can't be training at some like half-ass little bitch-ass intensity. You need to be going at least relatively hard, not 100% to failure, but there's a certain threshold of intensity that you need to meet to stimulate muscle growth. If you are not sweating, you are probably not going hard enough, in my opinion. When it comes to supplementation, a lot of it is mostly bullshit. I've taken a lot of supplements in my day, especially when I was younger. I was taking a fucking shitload of supplements of random bullshit that I read like one Google article online of, and it's essentially not doing shit, and I wasted a ton of money. The number one supplement category I would say is complete horse shit is fat burners. When I was younger, I took a lot of fucking fat burners, and essentially what they are is just a giant medley of stimulants, and they pretty much, just from all the stimulation, it suppresses your hunger. And that's pretty much all they do, but you don't need them. They're not like targeting any type of specific fat or anything like that for the most part. They're just a shitload of stimulants that they will blunt your hunger because it's a stimulant. But other than that, they're not really doing shit. In addition, I would say a good, useful supplement that I personally don't take because I get bloated. So, I mean, if I sound like a hypocrite recommending it, it is what it is, but it's proven to be a great supplement. A lot of my boys take it and they had great results with it, is creatine. Creatine is really good if you're trying to put on some size because your body's going to be holding more muscle in the cells and make you look more full. And it's proven to help you lift more weight than you would not taking creatine. So if there's a supplement I would recommend, it would be creatine. And then also, the only supplements I take is a multivitamin. Actually, the only supplement I take is a multivitamin, just to make sure I'm getting all my micronutrients in for the day, all your vitamins and minerals. Whether you think it's important or not, it really is, and you will feel the difference in your energy just taking a multivitamin. Now, when it comes to picking out like supplements to take, there's a couple things that you could look for to make sure that you're getting a good supplement and not some like shitty half-ass supplement. One thing to look out for is proprietary blends. I don't take any supplements with proprietary blends on it, nor do I recommend you take any supplements with proprietary blends on it. A proprietary blend, I said that word like fucking 20 times now in a row, is when you see on the label, it'll just say like power blend or some shit. They'll give it some sort of fancy name, and then under you'll see all the ingredients with no specific amount, and then it'll just say at the end like a total dosage of milligrams of all those ingredients. So you have no clue of how much of each of those ingredients you're getting, and you don't know if it's an effective dose of that of those ingredients in there. So I would avoid any supplement with a proprietary blend. It's probably bullshit. Some brands that I recommend and that I use are Thorne, Gorilla Mind, and NutraBio. And one of the big reasons that I use these supplements is because, number one, they are reputable, and number two, all their supplements are third-party tested. When a supplement company third-party tests their supplements, they are sending it to a non-biased company to assess their supplements of their purity and to give them a pass. And that is a really good sign that the supplement company is doing the right thing and that they're confident in their product and they're giving you exactly what they say that they're giving you. So so if you're looking to get into supplements, I would recommend those 3 brands, and I would keep what I just said in mind. But at the end of the day, you're going to do what you want. And speaking of supplements, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to talk about if you're going to use gear or if you're not going to use gear. By gear, I mean steroids, anabolic steroids. If you are a young kid, I think you are a complete dumbass to use steroids, because you are naturally on steroids because you are in puberty, your testosterone's at its peak. You really don't need it. All you need is a good training program, good nutrition, consistency, and patience. The only exception that I would make for that is that, I mean, if it's your dream to be like Mr. Olympia or something like that, I still don't recommend you do it, but if you do it, I get it. And for anyone that does steroids, I don't judge you at all. Listen, I get it. I thought about it. I'm also a nurse, so I'm just too neurotic and too much of a pussy to do them, honestly. But I don't recommend, my personal recommendation is that you don't do any type of gear or steroids until you've lifted for, at a bare minimum, 2.5 years, as hard as you can, and done the right thing with your nutrition. You know you're doing the right thing, and then you feel like you are at or near your genetic peak, and you've done everything you've done naturally, and you still don't have the results you want. That is when you do steroids. If you are just out of shape and you just want to speed run to getting jacked, like, first of all, you're not going to get the most out of the steroids, because those results that you're going to get with the steroids you would have gotten at some point naturally anyway. So I'm not going to bullshit you. Like, obviously they're going to accelerate your results. That's why people take them, and get you to levels that you wouldn't get to naturally. That is why people take them. However, I feel like if you're going to do them, that you should have done everything naturally prior to, and this is your only resort. Like, if you're like a hard gainer or something and you tried everything you can and you're eating a bunch of food and you still just really can't gain muscle and you're still skinny and you want to rip a cycle, I'm not going to judge you, bro. Actually, I'm not going to judge anyone that does steroids in general. I'm just giving my recommendation from my personal experience. That's all. Not to mention, like, if you're going to do that, make sure you're staying on top of your blood work. Make sure you're going to a reputable source. Like, if you go to a gym, there's probably going to be some OG in there that will be a reputable source to get the cleanest steroids you could get. Because if you start ordering shit off the fucking black market or the internet in general, like, you really don't know what you're getting. You don't know what they're spiking that shit with. You don't know what you're putting in your body. And if you don't know what you're putting in your body and shit starts happening to you, you can't even give, like, doctors and shit like an accurate picture of what you put in your body, and then they have to figure it out. So those are my thoughts on steroids. Also, no matter like what age you are, how stupid or useless you think it is, you should always be warming up prior to your workout, because number one, it's going to help you prevent injury, and number two is going to help you get the most out of your lift. Now, to properly warm up, you should not be static stretching. Like when you stand in place and you don't move and you just like touch your toes and shit like that. You should not be doing that. You should be doing some type of dynamic stretching. If you want me to do a video on that, I can. But for now, just Google dynamic stretching. You should be doing some dynamic stretching. You should be doing some sort of warm up for your core, which is not just your abs. It's your abs and your lower back and your pelvic muscles. And you should be warming up your core, and then you should be warming up the muscles that you are going to be using. You should be doing some type of mobility, controlled articular rotations before you work out, so that your body is ready to go and perform at the best level possible. And that brings me to my next point. Stretching and mobility is equally as important as lifting and as warming up, especially if you want to have max strength. Because if you are tight, then you're not going to lift as much, because for our muscles to conduct power, essentially it's like almost like a rubber band, and then when you don't stretch, the muscle stays contracted, so the rubber band is less. I don't know the proper word for it right now, but the rubber band is less, so therefore when it contracts, it is producing less power than when it's fully lengthened, and it will produce more power. So if you need a reason to stretch, you're going to lift more weight if your muscles are stretched. And also with mobility, it's just preventing injury. And my general synopsis about mobility is that you use it or you lose it. You don't want to be one of those fucking jacked up guys that can't touch the back. It's like you're going to build all this muscle, but if you have no mobility and no flexibility, you can't even use it in any type of functional type of way. You're just like a walking fucking block of meat. So you should definitely be working stretching and mobility into your routine. I could also do videos on that. For a long time, I did not stretch. I did not do any mobility work, especially when I was in college. I was training like a bodybuilder while playing college lacrosse, and I popped my hamstring 5 times because I was anteriorly pelvic tilted. Another word of which you could Google. I could also do a video on that, but I don't want to make this too long. In my opinion, also, if you want a aesthetic physique, I'll be working in some sort of body weight training. That would be like push-ups, pull-ups, literally just any weight, any exercises that does not involve actual external weights. There's something about the calisthenics, honestly, I don't know what it is, but it gets your physique to be aesthetic as fuck, and it gives you a different type of strength that, in my opinion, is more functional than most types of weightlifting. So I recommend that you work in some sort of calisthenics into your weightlifting routine, especially if your goal is to get an aesthetic physique and to be functionally strong. It's probably the most slept on area of lifting, in my opinion. I feel like everyone wants to like do the powerlifting shit and do like the bodybuilding shit and all that. And also, if like bodybuilding is your goal, you don't need to do like these new fancy fucking cross lat fucking little bullshit exercise. If you look at like in the old school days, these guys' physiques were crazy. They were doing literally just simple movements. Sometimes less is more, and as long as you progressively overload whatever exercises you're doing, you're not going to plateau. If you feel like you've been doing exercise for a while and now your results are ceasing on the body part that you're working on, I would recommend on making it a little bit more intense by either doing drop sets, by doing eccentric lifts, ascending sets, adding more weight, doing more sets, taking a little bit less rest. There's a lot of different things that you could do to make the exercise more difficult, and there's an infinite amount of things you could do as well. Like, you should never plateau. There is always some sort of way to make the exercise harder. And like I said, you can add more weight to make an exercise harder, but at some point you are going to plateau in strength. Otherwise, we would have people lifting like 20,000 fucking pounds. Like, the human anatomy could only go so far with the amount of weight that you're lifting. So there comes a point where you're lifting heavy weights, of which I feel like the risk of injury is not worth progressing in the weight, because like I said, I'm a nurse too, and certain things, once you fuck it up, actually everything, once you like injure it once, is never quite the same again. So you want to minimize getting injuries as much as possible, especially if it's like a back injury, like, and you like are herniating discs and like shit like that. It's a tough recovery, and it's a tough pain to deal with that you don't want to deal with. Luckily, I've never fucked my back up, but like I said, I have strained my pec a bunch of times, and I have popped my hamstrings a bunch of times as well. And now there's certain movements that I can't do because I've injured it so many times, and now they're just straight up fragile. I'm not gonna lie to you. Also, like I said, you want to train with intensity in the gym, but you also have to know when to take rest. So whenever you are training with, you want to train with intensity in the gym, but you also have to know when to take a little rest mid-set. And my recommendation on that is when your form is starting to get compromised, especially if you're lifting with heavy weights, because when your form is compromised while you're lifting with heavy weights, you're at a very big risk for injury. So once you feel like your form is starting to deplete, then just take a little rest, however long you need, 10, 15 seconds, and get back into it. I'm sure that there's more that I could be talking about. I'm sure if I got some questions in the comments that you want me to answer, or I was like having a conversation with someone else, I'd be able to think of more shit to say, but I am actually out of ideas currently. I just kind of came on here and freestyled this off the dome. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Hopefully it was helpful. Any questions, just put in the comments, I'll respond. And yeah, let's get jacked.